because Karina is on here today, and we did a little bit of a dress rehearsal on this because Keynote is a little bit different for me to work with. But for those of you that don't know me, I coined this word a long time ago because when I came from Ireland in 1979, I came over for the American dream. You'll never see a T on the end of American. So many immigrants come here because of the opportunity. And so that's why I came to America. Now, I came with $20 in my pocket, but I had a dream. So it doesn't matter how much money you have, don't have, but if you have a dream in your heart, the possibilities are endless in the United States of America. Now, Mary Kay is global, so now it's also possibilities to make millions all over the world. And we could tell you story after story after story, but it's not where you start, it's where you finish. And that's the key I wanted you to know. So I left Ireland with $20 in my pocket in 1979. That'll tell you now how long I've been in America. And I want to give you a backstory because I think everybody has a story, and I pray that part of my story fits into your life. Those of you that are guests, I think we've got Allison, Stephanie, and Jennifer. We probably have more that came on after that. But this is my mother's story because your blueprint for your life begins when you're young. And so my story was my mom, all those guys around her, her wedding picture were the guys that she dated before she chose my father. And she chose my father. You see their picture up here. And life is full of choices. I wanted you to know that for sure. Life is full of choices. So mama got married. That's not a great picture. Of course, the picture quality back then wasn't great, but look, she had a Cinderella marriage. And back in the 50s, of course, they wanted to have a large family. So she wanted to have a son to carry on the Hennessy name. That is my maiden name. Hennessy sounds a bit Irish, I suppose, right? And they wanted a son first to carry on the name. Of course, that was their prayer. And that's a picture of my grandson, by the way. But they wanted a son. And unfortunately, what happened to my mom on the delivery table, having her first child, was she suffered a stroke. And that rendered her handicapped for the rest of her life. She didn't have the son. She had a little girl. And the doctors told her, give up. How many of you have ever been told to give up in life? You just settle with where you're at and be happy. Well, mom was very stubborn Irish Catholic. And I'm a very stubborn Irish woman as well. And I bet you there's some other stubborn Irish people or maybe other ethnicities on here. I know a few of you. Yolanda comes to mind. We've had so much fun getting to know each other. But they told her to give up on having more kids. Well, she said, nope, I'm going to pray. And I know that God's going to give me my dream. So she continued to pray. And look at the family she ended up with. So when God gives you a dream, he gives you the ability to achieve the dream. You might want to write that one down and put that one in the chat. When God gives you a dream, he gives you the ability to achieve the dream. So it doesn't matter what a physician will tell you. The almighty physician is always right. So there you have it. And there was one more at home, and that was my little sister, Donna. So she had 6 children, 5 girls and 1 boy. She had her boy on the 5th opportunity. And so how many of you know there's no certainties in life? Well, there wasn't for my mom either, or for us, because we didn't realize my father owned his own business and he was under a lot of stress because of my mom's handicap. She wasn't the same as she was when he married her. Now they have 6 kids. And so he became an alcoholic. He turned to alcohol to mask his pain. And so when he'd come home, we never knew what we were going to be faced with, because when people drank, they changed their personality. And unfortunately, my father turned to the domestic abuse part of his reality in life and took it out on my mom and all of us as well. So the short version of the story is, and this is why I'm so proud of Mary Kay, by the way, and the foundation that empowers women who are affected by domestic violence and children, and also cancers that affect women. My father did die early of alcoholism at the age of 42. The sad thing was that he didn't leave my mom with any money. Now, I don't know if any of you on here have ever grown up without money, but my mom had to file for a widow's pension, which here in the United States is called food stamps. So that's what she had to do. And that changed the whole trajectory of our life because we had everything and now we had nothing. So what ended up happening? Mom taught us how to dream. My mother was a very strong, courageous, tenacious woman. You'd have to be handicapped and to have 6 children. Would y'all agree? You can say yes in the chat on that one because I don't, to this day, do not know how she did it. Carrying around our latest little grandson, I have done something to my wrist, and I keep thinking, how did she do it? But mom's attitude was always pristine. She would dress us up in these little dry cleaning bags that the neighbor would give her, and she'd say, now dream any dream you want because you can have it. And so we dreamt. We learned how to dream. We didn't have anything, but we learned how to dream. This was me and my first and only prom, and I borrowed a dress. Mom said, just ask your friend, you know. So I asked one of my friends that had a prom the year before, and it was too big for me, but we pinned it with little safety pins all the way down on the inside to make it work. So just because you're being tested doesn't mean that you don't have a testimony. There's so many people in life that they want the testimony, like they want the diamonds, like Mary Kay offers so much, you guys. You know, now that I've been retired, this is my 3rd year in retirement in Mary Kay. I can't believe it. You know, I'm on the outside looking in thinking there's nothing like Mary Kay on this planet, nothing like Mary Kay on this planet. But everybody wants this position, right? They would love to be a national sales director, travel the world and have diamonds like Kathy and myself and like the top directors that are all here on the Webby tonight. But in order to have the testimony, you got to have the test. And so many people, they don't want the test and all they have is the monies. So right now, Mary Kay is an opportunity of the land in the land of opportunity, in my opinion, now that I'm looking and seeing what's going on. What we did to mom did to make us happy was she would take us to the beach. It wasn't far from our house. We could get on the bus for a couple of pennies back in those days, and we'd bury each other in the sand and we'd learn to dream. So on the beach, I learned to dream about coming to America. That was my dream. We'd see all these ships coming in and out of the port. Cork City is where I'm from originally, and I do sound more Irish when I talk to my family in Ireland, by the way. But when you're not around Irish people, you just don't sound very Irish. But we'd see all these ships coming in and out. And I looked at my sister one day and I said, one day that's going to be me. One day that's going to be me, and I'm going to change mom's life. And of course, they all laughed at me. They all thought that was funny. They said, oh, you're such a big dreamer. But when God gives you the dream, remember, he gives you the ability. Here's my turning point. Some of you may be familiar with Blarney Castle in County Cork, Ireland. And at the very, very top of the castle, right here, where you see my mouse circling, there is a magic stone. The fable goes that if you get to kiss that stone, then you will have the gift of confidence and people will be attracted to you and all kinds of opportunities will come your way, basically. And you won't be shy anymore, because I was shy. We were all shy because we didn't have the opportunity to go out and go to the movies, be around a lot of people because we just didn't have the money. So our class was going, our school class was going on a trip to go here and to kiss the stone. And I thought, here's my opportunity. And my mother sat on the end of her bed that night and she started crying. First time I ever saw my mother cry. And she said, I don't have 42 pennies, Jill. You can't go. And I just looked at her and I knew this was God intervening. And he said to me loudly, that don't worry, someday you'll be able to take care of your mom. So I just looked at my mom and I took her little face in my hands, and I was only like 11 at that time. And I said, Mom, don't worry. One day I'm going to make a lot of money and you're never going to feel this pain again. I won't allow it to happen. And so God gave me the dream. And I had a dream about coming to America. We had a little black and white television set. We watched all these shows like Dallas and Starsky and Hutch and, you know, all of the wealthy people in America. And of course, I loved Chips. I don't know if any of you remember the Chips. And Eric Estrada, this guy here is like, I'm thinking to myself, now that could be my boyfriend and my future husband. I'd be totally fine with that. And so I dreamt, actually, I had his poster in my bedroom. One of my friends gave it to me because she thought it was so funny that I fell in love with Eric Estrada, and his nickname was Ponch. So I had an opportunity to come to America, and it was to be a nanny. Whoops, hang on a second. It's not going forward. Let me get out of this chat. So there we go. It was to be a nanny, and God's funny sense of humor, right? I know, to become the nanny. Some of you remember Nanny, the show. We got to see that too. But I had an opportunity right out of high school to come to America, and I said yes, I will come. And that's where the $20 comes in. They paid me $20 a week. Now, some people would say back in 1979, even that was crazy. And you'll be back because you're just not going to make it as a nanny over there. Well, there wasn't any money for college, so I didn't have an opportunity to even go there. So all the opportunities that a normal person had in Ireland, I didn't have it. Now, a lot of people scoffed at me and they laughed. And you know what? That's all right, because remember, God has a funny sense of humor. So when I arrived in the United States, I met the neighbor next door, and she said to me, she said, "Would you want to meet an American man?" And I said, "Yes, I do. I've been dreaming about one. He's tall, dark, and handsome." And she said, "Well, I'm sorry to tell you this, but this guy, he's blonde hair, blue eyed." And she said, "Well, just come anyway." So I showed up, and that's one message I want to give you right now. When you show up, you go up. The guests that are here tonight, you had no clue what you came for. You probably were bribed maybe to be on here. I don't know. Maybe you were offered something. And I know Kathy is so generous, my friend Kathy, giving you all gifts tonight. But she just said, "Come on." And I said, "Show up to go up, show up to go up." So guess who I met? I found Ponch in Kansas City. This is my honey, and we'll be married 39 years this year. So this is the guy that came up alongside of her car when she went to bring her husband his dinner, not the blonde hair, blue eyed guy. So when you show up, God will bring you blessings. When you show up, God's going to shower you with blessings. Well, there's Herc Estrada. Now he's a deputy. I can't remember now his exact title, but anyway, in Virginia. And I'll show you a picture at the end. Well, 2.5 years later, Vince asked me to marry him. And I thought, well, how am I going to afford the wedding dress? I had no money. And so there was a radio ad that came out to try out to be an NBA cheerleader. Now, I never did that before in my life. Just like some of you here tonight that are guests, you never sold a thing in your life. Maybe you don't wear a lot of makeup. Maybe you don't have a lot of friends. I didn't have one single friend when I came to America, not one. I left every single person behind. Everybody I knew and loved was shy. I did not know how to cheer, but I had a good attitude. And your attitude will determine your altitude. So when that came on, and I thought, well, I need money for my wedding dress. When you have a desire, then you will be on fire to figure out, what can I do? So that came up. I did a little jazz dancing. I was in a little group in Ireland, but nothing like what you do for the NBA. This is what they did when I went to the tryouts. I was seeing people do the splits. Well, I didn't know how to do a split at all. I want to give you hope, you guys. And this is what I look like leaving Ireland. So would you hire me? I'm the one on the left. This is what I looked like when I left Ireland. This is my baby sister. And this was the day I was getting on the TWA flight to America. So I want to show you that so that you could see I didn't look anything like that. Mary Kay refined me. That's for sure. But I had a great attitude, like I said. Your attitude determines your altitude. Well, they picked me. I became an NBA cheerleader. Yep, that's really me. That's me. That's me out there on the floor. The Kansas City Kings. They're now the Sacramento Kings. Some of you might be on here from Sacramento. They moved from Kansas City to Sacramento. And I was an NBA cheerleader for 3.5 years. Now, I want you to know why they picked me. They said that there were so many people there that were more experienced than me, but they loved my attitude and they could train somebody with a good attitude. So it doesn't matter if you're on here and you have no skill set for selling, or for maybe you just don't wear makeup like we said, or you just don't feel like you're a people person. I've never met a shy person, by the way, that really loves being shy. So all these skill sets are going to be taught by Kathy and all the directors. So just don't even give that another thought. And if it's a money thing for some of you on here, ask 5 people to loan you $20, or ask 5 people for $20 for your birthday, and get your starter kit. So I became an NBA cheerleader. There's the squad, and we're all still friends today. The mission was accomplished. I always tell everybody, I danced for my wedding dress. So if you don't laugh about that one, I don't know. But people, when I say that, they're going like, what did you do? You dance? And I said, yes, no, let me explain to you. I was an NBA cheerleader. So that was on our wedding day, and that was my honey. And he is such a cutie pie. Vince decided that I would go to college and I would get a serious career, though, however, after we married and made that commitment to be together for the rest of our lives. And this was my first car. It was $400. It was a purple Gremlin with white stripes down the side. So I want you to see like my transition and where I came from and where I went, because I had a dream. And when you have a dream, nobody can steal the dream without you giving them permission. When you give somebody your dream, you give away your power. So if somebody says to you, you can't do something, the word I want you all to put in the chat is wow. Wow, you don't need to be negative. You don't need to be upset with them. Just go, with or without you, I'm going to make it happen. Say that in your mind. With or without you, I'm going to make it happen. So I was going to school, bought my first car after we got married for $400. This was our first house. It was 1,000 square feet. Loved our first home, and it's not where you start, it's where you finish in life, right? Love that home. First major career move, I got hired to be an IBM. I was operating the IBM System 36. I don't know if any of you remember those. They're very dinosaur looking today when you're looking at a Mac computer and you're looking at all these others, but this is exactly what they look like. Big mainframes. I was in a glass house all day, every day on my own for 7 years. I did that for 7 years. When I had that new career though, Vince, and I was making great money back then. Today, that same job would probably net me about $150,000 in that career and what I was doing. But there was no commissions, and there certainly was no retirement and no diamonds and no trips around the world, like Kathy already showed you. The new career plus marriage, and then we decided we'd add Vince Jr. into the equation. Well, I thought I could handle it all. And I'm sure there's some of you on here that feel like, oh, I can handle it all. I can do the work. I can handle a baby and handle marriage and keep up a house and do all that. Well, I couldn't. I realized quickly I couldn't. I was stressed out and I had bills to pay. So I couldn't just like up and leave my job, because our home and everything that we own dependent on 2 incomes. So here's what happened. Now, some of you were invited on here today by people that you know. Well, I was in the restroom one night after we were at a party, and I was talking to my friend, and I was just boohooing about everything, and I was so miserable, and I just didn't want to have to go back to work. And this girl was in the other stall. She was a Mary Kay consultant, and she said, "Now, I know you don't know me, and I can hear your conversation, but can you meet me at the sink?" At the sink right here. That's why I put Mary Kay's picture up here. She told me everything about Mary Kay in 15 minutes. And I came running out of the restroom, and Vince is like, well, where were you? And I said, well, this woman told me all about Mary Kay, and this is my opportunity to get out of the career that I'm in and to stay home with Vince Jr. Well, my husband thought I was nuts. So short version of that, he did a background investigation on Mary Kay Cosmetics. He ran Mary Kay through the FBI, Internal Revenue Service, and the Better Business Bureau, and they couldn't find anything negative about Mary Kay at all, because Mary Kay has a 90% buyback on your business within your first year being in business, and that is phenomenal. So here's how we made it work. So how do you make it work if you have a 60-hour work week? A lot of you here tonight may be working from home, but you still have a work week load, and then some of you are teaching children at home on top of it, and that's just unbelievable what we're having to navigate today. So here's what we did. We looked at our calendar, we mapped it out, and we decided that I would give up 6 months of weekends for a lifetime of weekends, and that's what we did. So every single weekend I was working on my business, and 6 months to the date I started is when I quit. And I was full-time Mary Kay, and that was back in 1988. 1988. So can you imagine how many years am I in Mary Kay now? Y'all figuring that one out, right? So 1988, when my son was just about 3 years old. And I'll never forget it, because I scooped him up from daycare and I twirled him around. And when I became a national sales director, he picked me up and twirled me around, because he loved the fact that I was always there for him. I was always at home with him. So 41 years ago, it was a dream in my heart. Remember, I said to my sister, that's going to be me. Well, it happened, because the company took us back to Ireland and England. We sailed around it on the 7 Seas. Look up the cruise liner, the 7 Seas. It's a 6-star luxury liner, and only Mary Kay people were on it. only Mary Kay, national sales directors and their husbands. And we sailed back into the exact same cove that I had dreamt about all those years ago when I was playing in the sand with my sister. Now, here are two of my sisters right here, and we're looking out, and they're looking at me and talking to me and can't believe that this actually happened. So it actually happened. There's us turning around. This is Jackie and Mary, and this is my sweet mama. My mom was so proud of me because she remembers the moment too. My focus was to make the second half of her life the best part of her life. So dreams do come true. I sat on those rocks that day thinking about how blessed I was, how just absolutely incredible Mary Kay the woman was to have such a great vision to change women's lives all over the world, not just in the United States. So that was a very pivotal moment for me. Never stop dreaming. People ask me, what does NSD mean anyway? Of course, it means National Sales Director, but to me, it means never stop dreaming. That wasn't this particular time, but then I came back to Ireland multiple times, because when you have an income, you could do that to spoil my niece, who is now a psychiatric nurse, and my other niece, who is a doctor in Ireland. There's my sister Donna, who you saw a picture of her earlier with me when I left Ireland to come to America. And we all are eating our fish and chips because that's a very pivotal moment for me here, Kathy, because we used to only be able to afford one of these bags and split it amongst all 6 children. That particular day on the pier, we all had our own and we all ate our own. And that was a moment. That's why we were laughing so much. Because of Mary Kay, God turned my mom's scars into stars. Scars is she loved America. She lived with us for about 16 years of her life on and off. I have no regrets. That was mom in her long-term care facility about 5-6 years ago now, I suppose. And her final farewell was 4.5 years ago. She passed away on my birthday and I couldn't get to her on time. But she passed away on my birthday, and I always share with everybody that because people felt sorry for me that I wasn't there. And I said, don't feel sorry for me because we had amazing life moments together because I made a decision to not be afraid, because I made a decision not to make money an issue, not to make fear an issue, not to make my child an excuse not to have any fear at all, but to move in faith, to faith it, to make her life so much better. So the second half of her life was the best half of her life. So I looked at that as her way of saying her final farewell as a gift to me on my birthday. So I didn't look at it as a sad moment for me. God turned the purple Gremlin into 12 pink Cadillacs, and one, of course, many of them the Escalade you'll see up here up front, 1KC NSD. This is in front of Mary Kay's home in Dallas, and that was a very pivotal moment for me as well, because remember, a lot of people told me I wouldn't be anything when I came to the United States with just getting paid $20. So remember, your test will be your testimony. That's my little granddaughter, Aria, and Aria loves the pink Escalade. And now, of course, I've got that pink XLR too, and she just thinks it's the Barbie car, and she has grown up around pink. Our 1,000 square foot home into a 7,500 square foot home. Kathy, there's our flagpole we were talking about yesterday in front of the house. People say to me, well, what do you want with a 7,500 square foot home? Well, let me share with you what we do so often is inspire other kids, organizations, bring them into our home. Of course, a lot of Mary Kay events were held here in our home. This is in our lower level of the home, which is about 3,700 square feet downstairs. But this is a group of Irish children from Northern Ireland. Those of you that don't know about Northern Ireland, very briefly, in Northern Ireland, they're half Protestant, half Catholic, and there's a big war still going on today because it's under British rule. These children, they are Children for Peace in Ireland is the name of the group. So we bring them together collectively, collaborate. And so they both have to, a Protestant and a Catholic stays in a host home, and they learn how to love, acceptance, how to get along. And we teach them an awful lot of lessons about personalities, the DISC program, you name it. You cannot afford not to be able to teach children the lessons that we have learned through Mary Kay. So it's transcending and passing on and showing them the dream. That's what makes this so special. Remember, I had the borrowed gown? Here's some of the new ones. And of course, I let some of our consultants borrow some of my others because my friend let me borrow hers. And so I have a closet full of gowns today that we loan out. My husband had a dream when I started, Mary Kay. Those of you that are guests, Allison, Stephanie, and Jennifer, I bet you if you have a husband in your life, he probably has a dream. Ask him what he wants. You can definitely provide that for him with tenacity, being a tenacious woman and making a decision to make a shift and a change in your life. So he got that dream. When he turned 60, he wanted a bigger yacht. And of course, he got that yacht. So that's his yacht today. My son, because you are going to be teaching your children and your grandchildren other lessons. And it's what's caught, not taught. You know, he went to university. Vince was a college baseball player, but he will tell you today that it's what's caught, not taught, is what changed him and the trajectory of his life. He now owns his own multi-million-dollar marketing and sales. He calls it now, it's SMU, Sales and Marketing University. So he's now teaching others to do what he taught from me and from all of his other experiences in his life. Mom and Howard's love. Mom did meet her love here in Kansas City, and he met her at church, and they had a 10-year romance before Howard passed away. Mama said it was the happiest she'd ever been. What if I didn't take the opportunity to get on the TWA flight and I had fear? And what if I had turned back and said, no, I'm out? None of this would have happened. I now get time to love on my grandbabies. One of them's missing in the picture, but there's 3 of my grandbabies. This is my newest little grandbaby, and he is just a love. I call him V3. His hashtag is #smiley. He smiles all the time. He's just the best baby. They all do. Being around them is just the best. I went from no friends to treasured ones. And here's how I'm going to close this one out. This group here, many of them are on the call and on the Zoom today. These girls, oh my gosh, the best of the best. And those that I haven't met yet, I can't wait to meet you on my 60th birthday because I'm coming to see you. I'm going to come and hang out with my bestie. This is my bestie, your national. She took me on many walks on her property and beyond. And what a treasured moment in time I had with all of you. A stranger is just a friend you haven't met yet. Can you imagine if I didn't come? I didn't know one person. Remember that when I came to the United States. Now I know hundreds of thousands of people all over the United States and globally as I've trained for Mary Kay Inc. Amazing. God is good all the time. So what's your dream as I close? What is your dream? What do you dream about? This was a picture taken right by the Statue of Liberty. When I flew into New York City in 1979, I cried because I couldn't believe I was having this opportunity to change my mother's life. I wanted to change her life so badly. And there I was, living the dream. So what's your dream? I have an acronym for you for the American flag. I'm so proud of the American flag. We, like Kathy, have a humongous flag in front of our home. Number 1 is the F in flag, face your fears, faith it to make it. Write that down, put it in the chat. It's not fake it to make it. I didn't fake it to come to the United States. I had faith that God would take care of me if I made the decision and followed the call. So face your fears, faith it to make it. L in the flag is live your life on your terms. So what if people tell you you can't do it? Now, when I go back to Ireland, what do you think they do? They roll out the red carpet. So and here's another thing they say, we always knew you could do it. And so I could be really a little bit crass and say, no, you didn't. But no, it's okay. You just go in your mind, remember? Wow. You just have to smile. So live your life on your terms. Number 3. A in the flag is your attitude will determine your altitude. If you have stinking thinking, everybody knows it. It's kind of like bad breath. Everybody knows it, but you, just a thought. Number 4, G in the flag. Go over, under, around, and through any obstacle. There is no reason today in the United States of America that we cannot make this happen. And I cannot believe, Kathy, that Mary Kay has an E start. I didn't even know that. Thank you for teaching me something new that I can pass on to others as I meet them. It's so exciting. So when you surround yourself with the dreamers, like National Sales Director Kathy, and the doers, the believers, and the thinkers, and all the women that you saw on my slide, that I had them such a blessing to me. But most of all, surround yourself with those who see greatness within you, even when you don't see it in yourself. And trust me, we all go through those moments when we don't see it in ourselves. This is why I love Mary Kay, the community, the culture, how they lift you up. They never tear you down. They're always lifting you up and saying, here's another idea. Here's another idea. That's where the go give comes in. The go give pin you see on my shoulder. I think I have it on. Yes. Go give. Mary Kay said, it's all about go give, not go get, go give. Give to others, and then God will shower blessings on you. So, in ending, the poorest man alive, or a woman in this case, is not the man or woman without a nickel. We didn't have that. Remember the 42 pennies? It's the man or woman without a dream in their heart. So when you have a dream in your heart, God will give you the ability to achieve it. Remember, it was just $20 that I came with. Then on to 3 million plus. You probably see the plaque behind me on my wall. It's just about 4 million by the time I retired. And wow, what a company. Lupita Nine said, no matter where you're from, your dreams are valid. It doesn't matter where you've come from, you guys. It doesn't matter if you came from Ireland, if you came from a different country, if you're here in the United States, your dreams are valid. Kathy will be sharing that with you, as will your sales directors. I have a pair of shoes similar to this. So I always say to everybody, it's time to step into your dream. The definition of insanity is continuing to do the same thing and expecting a different result. If you keep doing the same thing, nothing's going to change. So step into your dream, the Amer I Can dream. And that is what I wanted to share with you all tonight. Let me stop sharing that and come back to you. But that is what I wanted to share with you, to step into your dream. And I'm open for any questions that you have. Yeah, you'll see that the plaques are over there on the wall. Can you see them? Whoop,
yes, we can see them. Lots and lots of plaques.
Yeah.
Gillian, you have changed my life. I don't know if you know that, but you deeply have changed my life. You have, just like Mary Kay said, like a flower blooming, you did what she talked about, that, what happens in Mary Kay will still, even as a national, there's further to bloom, and God put you in my life for a reason. And it just seems like every single person that you speak to, whether it's one-on-one or in a group like this, God just works through you to bless them.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah, and I'm seeing so many beautiful comments come in, and it's really neat to hear from someone who has immigrated from another country, like my husband, and has realized the American dream. You followed the Mary Kay path, and of course, our guests here can do the same if they'd like. Certainly, the consultants, and you can see what can happen.
Yes.
She did a lot of training. Oh, look at all these comments coming in. She actually did training for the consultants in a way. Your story is amazing. Now, everybody is so blessed. And I prayed before this, Gillian, that God would be here and just do his thing. So I know it's perfect. I know it's absolutely perfect.
Yeah.
Do we have any guests that have any questions, or maybe a consultant? We don't have as many guests as we usually do, which is totally fine. It's the way it's supposed to be tonight. Any questions for Gillian? She's willing to answer. Oh shoot, there was something there from Keisha. Hold on, let me just take a look. What is a dream of yours, Gillian, that has not come to pass? This is from Keisha Woods. That's actually a interesting, reflective question. I'd really like to know that, Gillian.
That's a really good question. I would have to say all my dreams have come to pass.
Yeah.
I can't think of one that has not. Because I'm even though I'm retired. Keisha asked the question. Was that right?
Keisha Woods, yes.
Keisha. I know Miss
Keisha. Yes, Keisha. How could you miss her? Yeah, she's great.
Keisha, I would say that, the one thing that I'm so passionate about today, and I don't know if this will ever be fixed in the entire world, is empowering women of domestic violence. We're very involved with a lot of different groups here locally, and it's a travesty, really, and after, as we've gone through COVID, what's really been empowering for me is to be able to speak to these organizations and pass on Mary Kay's message of hope, and doesn't have to be the same, and that they can have a testimony that they can stand on proudly, and teaching them that if God gave them the dream, he's given them the ability. But what we have to recognize is when you come across a connection to somebody like your national, myself, or all of the amazing directors and consultants here, is that God brings them alongside of you for a reason, a season, or a lifetime. So teaching that lesson to others. But as far as dreams for me, there really isn't anything else that I aspire to do for myself, but to pass on the legacy. How about that?
Yes, to pass on that others can dream and can achieve the impossible dream. Erica Parker is interested in knowing how soon after you started Mary Kay did you become a director?
Oh, that's a great question. And that was Erica?
Yes, Erica Parker.
Erica, let me push this down into the light a little bit. Erica, it took me a year and a half. That's a great question because, at the beginning, we didn't have the internet. You have to remember, we have a consultant's guide. When I started, a consultant's guide, it was one guide and all the scripts were highlighted in blue. My director was 4.5 hours for me. We didn't have cell phones when I started. All the training for me, in order to learn how to earn a car, I had to drive 4.5 hours without a cell phone to go see Rena Tarbett, National Sales Director Rena Tarbett, who's now in heaven with her angel wings. And I had to have the courage and the tenacity to drive there on my own. So for my skill set learning, it took a little bit longer because we didn't have at our fingertips what you have today. Does that make sense? We had no personal computers either, obviously, no laptops, nothing. Even though I operated an IBM System 36, I couldn't take that puppy home. wouldn't have been allowed anyway, had it been possible. But that's why it took me a year and a half. But in that year and a half, I will say this, I did build my customer base. I saw every single weekend. I started off with family, most of us do. But think about this, you guys. Some people say, well, I don't want to start off with family and friends. Why wouldn't you want them to have the best product, the number one product in the world? Really, literally in the world, in my opinion, because nobody can believe I'm going to be 60 this year, 60. 60. And I don't think I have too many lines on my face. And I don't do any of those injection things, you guys. That's not me. So y'all know what I'm talking about. Anyway, what was I going to share with you? I started with family and friends, and then Mary Kay was very emphatic back in those days, in her letters. We used to get letters from Mary Kay and faxes. We used to get a fax from Mary Kay. And she was very into having 6 people at every single skincare class. So I made that my focus. So I did 3 classes every weekend. Remember, I gave up 6 months of weekends for a lifetime of weekends. So I saw how many people then on a weekend. So I saw how many? 18 times 4, 72 people a month. I wasn't doing a perfect start or a power start. I was doing a double power start because that's what was expected of us.
Interesting. Well, I know there's some directors on here that would like to also know, everybody's different, but I bet you they'd like to know how soon after you became a director did you promote yourself to National Sales Director?
Oh, that's a great question too. 11 years.
Only 11 years.
11 years. Yep. My goal first, though, before it became it was never my goal to become a national. Isn't that funny? It was never a goal of mine to become a national. My whole goal was to empower other people to go after their dream. And if I could get enough people to go after their dream, then I would have had a life worth living and a life well lived. That was my goal. Along the way, even with my first Cadillac, I earned it with 42 people reaching their dream. Just 42 people earned the Cadillac. And I became number 1 in my class, and I didn't even know it because that was never my focus. It wasn't about me. So the more people you help get their dream, then you're automatically going to have yours. And
That's
so
right.
in that 11-year frame, then Kathy, that's how that all evolved. All these directors started debuting, and I'm like, well, are you sure you're ready? Are you sure? And of course they were. They were ready. And I'm like, oh my gosh. So I actually got elevated into that national position that way.
Interesting. Yeah, it
Yeah.
wasn't my focus either. Let's see. I pray to help others, Stephanie saying, to achieve their goals, and God will bless me to reach beyond. Yes, yes, that is the
Yeah.
secret right there.
Yeah.
Wow. Well, this is amazing. Good information. NSD will automatically come if it's God's will. Now, did you? I have to ask another question. I promise I'll move on, guys. Although I'm sure you're totally enjoying this, though it was a decision ultimately to become a director
Yeah.
or to become a national or to become $1 million director. It wasn't just, oh, I mean, you were top in your class, kind of by accident, but once you kind of got the idea, you made goals, yes? Or did you just kind of
Yes, for
bounce into
sure.
it?
We actually, what I did with my unit for the directors that are on here, I would ask them every year, what do they see us doing? What direction do they see us going in? As a matter of fact, going after the million, Kathy, that was my consultants coming up to me after the big gala on stage closing. Everybody was leaving. The nationals had all come on stage and they left, and a whole bunch of my red jackets and team leaders, they stuck behind, and they came up to me and they said, well, why can't we be $1 million unit? And I said, I don't know, I guess we couldn't we? And so when we came back from Dallas, we sat down and we just looked at it, and we looked and saw how many star consultants that would take, how many red jackets it would take, how many team leaders on target cars and directors. And so together, collectively as a team, because together everyone achieves more, right? Then we had a meeting of the minds after seminar, and I call that my inner circle. And so they would come to my home, and if they couldn't come to my home, then we would patch them in either by computer, now that we had computers back then, and or conference call was really mainly most of it, because
Yeah. So it was intentional once you started to go
yeah,
for
yeah,
this.
we
Yeah.
definitely had a blueprint then, and then
But
it definitely grew.
yeah, but you included everyone.
Yeah,
Everyone was like, okay, you started from maybe a little, it didn't even matter. Your faith was like, let's take little to huge. And you
right.
had this free decor. Okay, well, we have to move on, although we could talk all night. My gosh.
I know,
Well,
I know.
okay, there's 3 ways to start, and women love choices, right? Okay, so there's the $30 e-start. Okay, so that's this one right here. That's the one I'm doing the drawing for in just a few minutes on where Pink
That's awesome.
Possibilities, right? Yeah, and that will make you a consultant. $30, trip to McDonald's for 4. Yeah, it's great, or you could get the full starter kit, which is probably the smarter one because you get $400 of product retail in it. So it kind of, a lot of people go for the 130. You also, of course, get the website and the pro pay and everything, but you get this kit that's filled with a date book and a purse and samples. And then, like I said, $400 of product. And then a lot of the people these days, because we're doing a lot of sampling, do this discounted sample pack. They get that in advance, and it's just $45. So you save about $20, we figured out, on your samples, which are going to need them. So anyway, so those are the different ways to start. Now, guess, why don't you put in the chat whether you'd go with the 30 or the 130? Which one would you go for a ticket? Okay. So, all righty. So anyway, let's move on. It's for the guests. Maybe you have decided to stay customer, and that is great. And we'd love for you to fall further in love with Mary Kay and get your products for free. And that's by having a party. You heard Gillian say that she had parties all the time on the weekend, and 6 at each. And of course, why wouldn't you? When you get to party and you get free stuff. Okay, there's Allison. Great. Okay. Allison says she'll go with the 30. Sorry. Wonderful, Allison. Yay. Yeah, you'll probably get a shoe in for getting it. Okay. Type book me in the chat for a ticket if you'd like to book a party with your consultant. It's so much fun. It's like you're all in your own homes doing facials, and it's like the Brady Bunch. Hi, Aunt Sue. Hi, Paula. Hi, the whole group's there, and you're doing your facials and having fun together. So book me in the chat for a ticket. And I just want to thank everybody for putting this event together, particularly Geronda Coles, who's our ticket master, and Karina Elizabeth Wright, who does the slides so flawlessly. They really put a lot of time in it. And thank you, Stephanie Puccini, for keeping an eye on everything and being the host. We would love for you to join our family. It is a family. It really is. I know when I started Mary Kay, I was just looking for something bad was going to happen that they didn't tell me, but it was absolutely the opposite. I was saying, they didn't tell me about that. What? They didn't tell. It was all this good stuff. I couldn't believe it. It's just gotten better and better. Right, Gillian? It's just amazing. It's just, this company is a dream company. It really is. It's a dream. Our life is a dream. You compare this opportunity to anything else, unless you have a calling, to save lives as a physician, or something in the legal, or even computers, whatever. You have a calling on your life. That's different, of course. But think about this. You may have a calling in your life, but Mary Kay could help you to facilitate that calling. It could go in alignment. We have as our next guest on Pink Possibilities, Lorinda King, and she's a pastor. She started Mary Kay so she could build a music center for her church.
Wow.
Instead of having
that's amazing.
Yeah, these chicken dinner things that people pay $10 and they got $5 towards the music center. She decided to sell Mary Kay, and oh my goodness, the money started pouring in. So maybe you have a calling, like she does even now, have a calling, but Mary Kay can feed into that. So this is your last chance to earn a ticket. As a guest, put a 1 in the chat if you're ready to get started, or a 2 if you'd rather be a happy customer. So go ahead and do that. Geronda is watching, and we will be doing the drawing over at the Facebook, Peak Possibilities Facebook page. Hopefully, I think we have some people over there watching, and I'm looking forward to seeing who's over there, and some other people that may